Helene's victims. Nearly 1 week after the hurricane, aid's arriving for those in need.
The only way to get there is by helicopter or by walking along this very treacherous path.
We also have dramatic new images that show the power of the storm.
They've had mudslides up there, homes were destroyed.
We're tracking activity in the tropics.
Could become a hurricane as soon as Saturday.
Plus, the Florida beach town that's now telling tourists to stay away. We'll take a closer look at the danger of flash flooding, even for those who don't live in a flood zone.
And flooding could even occur miles away from where the rain fell.
And Fat Bear Week's underway, how you can help pick the most popular bear in Alaska.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Emma Withrow. Search and rescue teams are finding more victims of Hurricane Helene. 190 deaths are now blamed for the massive storm. The good news is that many of the hundreds still listed as missing have been located. In Asheville, that number is down from 155 to 26. Some of that is because cell service is finally coming back online. The power is still out for 1 million homes and businesses in 5 different states. And efforts to get relief supplies to storm victims is still a challenge because so many roads are impassable or just simply washed away. And check out this new video from last Friday. A man in his apartment complex watched as a large building just floated on by. It missed those apartments, but as it kept going downstream, it was ripped in half by a large pole. The remains of the building, along with other debris, kept moving downstream. We have team coverage from across recovery zones in North Carolina and Tennessee. We start with Kristen Kwan in Spruce Pine, North Carolina.
Business owners in Spruce Pine are in shock.
It's just totally devastating.
The flood destroying almost everything in its path.
We're thankful that, we're talking about my business, my family's safe, my employees are safe, my friends are safe. Really and truly, that's all that matters. But, we are finding people that were not as fortunate.
Right now, there is no electricity, water, or cell service in the entire county.
So our 911 system is having to rely on radios in order to dispatch right now because our internet is out. That is our issue. To get out, people will need to, if they have an emergency, they have to get out to a fire department or a rescue team and let them know.
County Manager Alan Cook saying the volunteer fire departments are also serving as donation drop-off locations. They are in desperate need of oxygen, generators, and battery-powered radios.
We need the means to reach into some of these smaller communities and get food out there to those folks that haven't been getting these updates. They've been sitting in a house for nearly a week and they don't really know what's going on or if help is coming.
Emergency officials say they are still responding and want to assure their community they are doing everything they can to help those in need.
Prayers are important. We want you to know that they're going up, and we want everybody in this country just to throw those up for us.
We're having a few reports here and there of fights at gas stations.
Welfare checks continue. Cell phone availability comes and goes.
If a friend or a relative from out of state or even locally calls and says, I haven't heard from my loved one, the vast majority of the time that is related to a communication problem. Verizon is working very diligently to bring that system up.
A 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew continues.
We want to ensure safety and that any theft of materials that may have come loose is kept at a minimum.
Interstate 40 in the Pigeon River Gorge remains closed due to a landslide.
Yeah, I-40 in the gorge, it's going to be a while.
I think engineers are continuing to reassess it.
Damage assessments coming in from towns.
I think Hazelwood's doing okay.
Maggie Valley.
They've had mudslides up there, homes were destroyed.
Canton taking another hit just 3 years after Fred.
In the future, they're going to have to find land and really move a lot of the town out of the flood area.
Commission Chair Kevin Ensley is reinforcing flood debris to be piled up near roads but not in them so trucks can come by.
We'll be by to get that soon, but the town of Clyde has already gotten someone lined up to come and do that.
When something happens to this scale, supplemental help comes in from emergency workers from across North Carolina and beyond. The Incident Resource Hub has additional resources for search and rescue.
We're using a lot of assets, everything from excavators to people actually going through these piles to actually canines that help us find people.
Areas of northeast Tennessee are in the early stages of cleanup and recovery. Lack of cell phone service and internet is definitely slowing down the process here. Preston Ayers in Washington County, southwest of Bristol, has more on this.
I want you to take a look all the way across the river. That's where the Little Germany community is. You can see a truck waiting over there for some supplies to be delivered. The only way to get there is by helicopter or by walking along this very treacherous path that in some points involves hugging up next to some big rocks. They are able to communicate, though, through the work of amateur radio operators. Just on the other side of the river, we can't show you the damage to Little Germany just yet. It's impossible to drive there and almost impossible to reach it all. I met up with Terry Bailey at the Sheriff's Department's command post in Lamar. He, along with several other ham radio operators from the region, are providing a vital communication link to the cutoff community.
We've dropped some handheld radios back into Little Germany so that we can have communications back there, back and forth with them.
By chance, a ham radio operator lives there. Bailey checked in on him while we were talking.
KK4 FDP, this is a welfare check. I wanted to see if there was anything you needed back there right now.
Probably the only thing we want to talk about is Terry.
They're helping coordinate helicopter supply drops, but also calming the fears of worried family members back here on this side of the Nolichucky.
We made contact just yesterday with some families that had wished to do a welfare check on their people back there, and that was great to be able to do.
Crews are working to build an access road through the forest, but until then, this 1920s technology remains the most reliable way to communicate.
And of course, people in Florida are also cleaning up following Helene. The hurricane brought 140-mile-per-hour winds and a record storm surge to the Gulf Coast. Now one beach town's putting a 45-day moratorium on tourism. Holmes Beach officials say they need visitors to just stay away for now so they can focus on cleanup. Tourists wouldn't really have much to do anyway. Most restaurants are closed and many roads remain blocked. And there's also a dusk to dawn curfew. And check out this image. It was taken on Saturday, one day after Hurricane Helene roared through the southeast. And you can clearly see here the storm's path, the dark strip from Florida's Big Bend through Georgia and the Carolinas. It's dark because there's no power. Many of those communities will be in the dark for weeks to come. The victims of Hurricane Helene definitely need our help. That's why our parent company is partnering with the Salvation Army to lend a helping hand. So funds raised will go to emergency aid, including water, food, cleanup kits. Sinclair's also going to match the first $50,000 raised. So go to sinclaircares.com or scan that QR code on your screen right now to make a donation to help these people. Tracking the tropics this morning, we continue to monitor two storms in the Atlantic, and one could develop in the same place as Helene did, actually. Meteorologist Jennifer Collins has more.
We still have Hurricane Kirk in the central Atlantic, next major hurricane of the season, and then followed by Leslie right behind it. Leslie is still maintaining a tropical storm strength, expected to work its way right behind Kirk into the central Atlantic as well. Really not much of a concern for us as it will remain over open waters. Could become a hurricane as soon as Saturday. Here close to home, though, we're monitoring this area in the Gulf of Mexico. Yesterday had about a 40% chance of becoming a tropical system. Now it's down to about a 30% chance. So regardless of development, we are anticipating the deep moisture associated with this disturbance to work its way over the state of Florida heading into the start of next week.
The heat wave that's plagued the West will continue today. 32 million Americans are under heat alerts, including in Phoenix, where highs will reach 108 degrees. Many places around California's Bay Area are also topped 100 degrees yesterday and will do so again today. San Francisco was in the low 90s yesterday, but should only hit 80 today, which we know is very rare. It seems this fall heat wave out west is record-setting, as weather historian says that the high of 117 degrees in Palm Springs, California, was the highest temperature ever recorded in the United States in October and tied the monthly record for North America. The heat's also raising fears of additional wildfires. The temperatures should start to drop early next week, we can hope. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how heat is impacting pumpkin crops in the Southwest. And we'll find out how La Nina could impact this year's winter season.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have a seasonably mild air mass hanging around the Northeast the next couple days, and the weather's going to be great. Look for a partly to mostly sunny sky today. Afternoon temperatures will be in the 60s and 70s. Any early morning clouds and fog with a weakening front will disappear. Look for developing sun. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Another front starts to approach from the west on Friday. Friday's still a pretty good looking day with partly to mostly sunny skies again. This feature may bring a few showers early Saturday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabatley. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. The unsettled, gloomy pattern is ending for our region. That means the clouds will finally go away. Your Thursday starts out with them, but we should see things breaking up and allowing some sunshine down going into your afternoon. Friday, we'll say partly to mostly cloudy. Another system approaching to bring a couple showers to the mountains, but otherwise pretty much a dry frontal passage. Then temperatures will be warmer, mid to upper 70s on Thursday and a few degrees warmer for your Friday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at your highs for this afternoon. Most of us are going to be in the 80s, low 90s for our friends in Florida, and then we have the upper 70s up in the North Carolina mountains. Now we are expecting a few sea breeze showers for your Thursday afternoon. Most of our coastal communities will expect those. Also some mountain showers expected overnight into your early Friday morning. And then for your Friday morning, as those sea breeze showers drift back to the coastline, don't be surprised if you have 1 or 2 morning showers.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Let's talk rainbows. This is known as a fire rainbow, but it's technically a circumhorizontal arc. It's formed by the refraction of sunlight and ice crystals suspended in the air. This rainbow may seem incomplete, but there's a good reason. It won't reach the ground until the rain reaches the ground. And double rainbows like this form when sunlight is reflected twice within the same raindrop.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
So we've been talking a lot about flooding with Hurricane Helene. One of the most dangerous types of flooding is flash flooding. You don't need to live in a flood zone, flood-prone area to even experience this devastating and potentially deadly flooding. And meteorologist Steve Knight has more on this concept.
Most flash flooding is caused by slow-moving or stalled thunderstorms, by thunderstorms repeatedly moving over the same area, or by heavy rains from hurricanes and tropical storms. Heavy sustained rain can create rapid flooding within a few hours or even minutes, and flooding can even occur miles away from where the rain fell. Flash floods can sweep away cars, tear out trees, and destroy homes, businesses, and roadways. As little as 6 inches of rapidly moving floodwater can knock a person down. Often there is very little advance warning that these sudden and deadly floods are coming, and most flooding fatalities in the United States happen in flash floods. Driving and flooding is a very dangerous combination. Nearly all of flash flood fatalities are auto-related. If driving in heavy rain, pay particular attention for flooding in any low-lying areas and bridge underpasses. We always stress the phrase, turn around, don't drown, as the depth of the water is not always obvious and the road itself may be washed out. If a vehicle stalls in high water, leave it immediately and seek higher ground. Rapidly rising water can engulf a vehicle and sweep it away. Finally, make sure you stay informed. If a flash flood warning is issued for your area, immediately get to higher ground if possible. And if you're advised to evacuate, don't hesitate and do so immediately.
Definitely no risk of flooding right now in Arizona. It might be October, but as we mentioned earlier, triple-digit temperatures are still baking the state. The extreme heat's having a major impact on crops, and Renee Romo reports how one pumpkin patch owner has been fighting this battle for over a decade.
John Post, owner of the Marana Pumpkin Patch, has been doing this for the past 14 years. He told me that while pumpkins don't love the heat, they can withstand it. However, the real difficulty comes when you first plant the pumpkins, as extreme heat can immediately kill them.
And so that plant will just sit there growing. It grows, but it doesn't produce pumpkins until it's 100 or less. And so generally that's about September 1st.
Dr. Jesse Woodson, an associate professor with the U of A School of Plant Sciences, explained that most plants are good at tolerating the heat, definitely better than people, but only up to a certain point.
Every plant still has its limit, and Arizona is incredibly hot, and we're having a very hot month, and that is very harmful to plants and their cells.
Despite losing a few of their plants to the heat during the summer, Post is confident what they have now will last through their fall festivities, thanks to an underground drip system that keeps the pumpkins cool on the really hot days. Combined with the abundance of shade provided by the bushy plants and leaving the pumpkins on their vines for as long as possible, it should allow the pumpkins to grow to their usual size.
There are a lot of times where we'll cut pumpkins and leave them in the field for our customers, but this year we'll probably wait to make sure the weather is suitable for that.
We know extreme heat and severe weather can be dangerous, but for those with chronic illnesses, even wonderful weather days can actually be a problem for them. Meteorologist Veronica Johnson spoke with an expert about how weather can just impact people dealing with these illnesses day by day.
The Lupus Foundation of America estimates that 1.5 million Americans have some form of lupus. 90% of people living with lupus are women.
It's ranked the 5th cause of death among Black and Hispanic women aged 15 to 24. So when you put it in that context, it's a leading cause of death among all young women.
Research has linked hot weather to lupus symptoms such as rashes and inflammation around organs and joint pain. It has also linked cold weather to kidney inflammation. Other factors like barometric pressure, humidity, and sun exposure can worsen symptoms of lupus.
Lupus isn't just sort of one issue, one chronic issue. It can be fatigue. It can be skin rashes. Unfortunately, the organs can be impacted. In children, it's even more severe. So hypersensitivity to the sun. So people just think, oh, I didn't put enough sunscreen on. But in actuality, they're hypersensitive to the sun.
Staying atop the weather and having a support system is crucial.
Many of us are already thinking about the winter season ahead, when we'll trade in our pumpkin spice lattes for a peppermint mocha. With that in mind, meteorologist Garrett Hyde shows us some signs that could clue us in on the winter ahead.
And unfortunately, we actually can't predict exact forecasts this far in advance. It's just a simple limitation of the technology and the extreme variability of the weather in which we typically experience. But we can get a rough idea of what may be ahead based on these large teleconnections or climate patterns that link weather events at different locations here on Earth. And one of them that can help us with the trends as we continue on into winter is called the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO for short. And this has numerous different phases. You might have heard of them, called El Nino, La Nina, or neutral, which is something we are in currently. And ENSO is a cycle of the sea surface temperatures over the Pacific Ocean along the equator, just off the west coast of South America. And that phase that ENSO goes into is largely driven by these trade winds blowing across South America. During the El Nino phase itself, those trade winds tend to weaken just a little bit, and these warmer ocean waters now will have the ability to just kind of sit out on the western coast of South America. This then allows the overall polar jet stream throughout the winter months to be a little bit stronger and more stable, helping bring those warmer than usual temperatures throughout the upper U.S. and wetter conditions throughout the south. In La Nina, that tends to develop when those trade winds over the equator just a bit stronger, pushing those warmer waters further out to sea, allowing those cooler water below to rise up off the west coast of South America, creating a weaker and wavier polar jet stream, which can allow those cooler conditions to get moved into the northwestern United States and those wetter conditions throughout areas such as the Ohio Valley. The variability of that jet stream also allows for more temperature swings and more frequent winter systems. So for this winter, forecasters do have a fairly brief, weak La Nina phase, meaning the overall impact should be a little less than what we would typically see. But the Climate Prediction Center's latest outlooks for the precipitation trends do kind of align with that, leaning towards above normal conditions across the Ohio River Valley and throughout the upper Midwest. As opposed to the temperatures, at least we are looking at fairly equal chances of above or below normal temperature trends, most likely due to the expected variability of the polar jet.
And speaking of winter, yesterday marked the start of Fat Bear Week, and you can participate by scanning the QR code or visiting our website. The single elimination tournaments focused on educating the public about Alaskan brown bears while also celebrating the weight they've put on for the winter. Each day you can vote between two bears by selecting who best exemplifies fatness and success as a brown bear. The bear with the most votes moves to the next round until a winner is finally crowned. The event is hosted by the National Park Service, so definitely something you'll want to look into. And time now for a short break, but first we're going to take a soar over Florida's Fort Pierce Inlet. Take a look.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. A little cooler across the plains, some 60s for high temperatures, but a lot of Midwest dealing with 70s and 80s, if not even some 90s there. Look at that, Wichita getting to 94 for the high today. Slim chance of a little rain popping up in northern Missouri tomorrow, but most of the Midwest continues to stay dry. And got a little bit of rain up in Wisconsin on Saturday, still warming up.
Good Thursday morning to you, meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast across the region, starting off some pretty comfortable temperatures, 60s and 50s into Little Rock. Now, the afternoon, we will see 80s and 90s for high temperatures, a lot of sunshine, a little bit more cloudiness towards New Orleans. Step into Friday's forecast, and here you see a lot of sunshine, hot temperatures, cloud cover increasing as you head towards the Gulf Coast, where we also could see a few showers and thunderstorms that'll linger into the weekend.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson, and here's what's happening across the West. We still have excessive heat warnings stretching across California into Arizona and Nevada, with record heat still happening from Colorado up into Wyoming. Now, temperatures are very hot here, but we've been cooling closer to normal in the Pacific Northwest. High pressure in control of the weather here around the Southwest, but it's bringing gusty wind to cause great wildfire danger for Oregon, Idaho, and Nevada. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Have you ever noticed that during this time of year, the nights start to get colder? The reason behind this might actually not be what you think. So meteorologist Josh Kozlowski explains why.
Well, this time of year in the fall season, we're beginning to see some colder nights. And the reason for that is actually we're seeing many things happen. We're seeing a lower sun angle in the sky with respect to the horizon. We're also losing a couple minutes of daylight every single day, but the biggest thing is changing with our weather and with respect to the sun, the planet Earth, is we're having more nighttime hours. That means we're losing more heat at night versus gaining it during the day. We call this a net negative solar radiation. For the National Weather Desk and the Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
If you're looking for some more great weather content, look no further. Be sure to check us out on social media, where we post all the latest content from our team of meteorologists across the country. You can also find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Just search up the National Weather Desk, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Emma Withrow. We want to remind you that you can scan the QR code on your screen right here to help victims of Hurricane Helene. This is an effort of our parent company, Sinclair, and also the Salvation Army. Make it a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.